Have you heard? Callaway's released some drivers. And it's been a party! Let's go see what this is all about. And you'd be right. They did just release it a year ago. And so what happened in this last year? Well, we've had a bit of a pandemic, if you haven't noticed. And what has happened is golf experienced a ginormous explosion in popularity because it was an outdoor activity that you were allowed to go do. With that, Callaway had a very successful year and sold through a lot of the Maverick product. As you see, a lot of it, we're already into the beginning of the year and the amount is starting to shrink rapidly, right? Rapidly. So as a business, what do you think you got to do? Well, you could, one, spend another amount of fortune basically and re-inventory for another successful year. However, you're in a 2-year cycle, you're already on the downward slide, right? Or spend that same money and get another one and then keep your popularity rolling. So in this particular instance, I'm not going to be one of those guys, oh, they release something every year, by God, blah, 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 blah. No. In this particular instance, yes, they did, but from more of a business perspective as opposed to let's just throw product out at the world and see if they'll bite it, which has happened in the past. We all know that. So this one is more of a business, and I tend to agree. So what did we do? Well, they went back to the Epic name. Right? The Epic name, it's pretty nice. I mean, you go Epic, whatever, Epic, whatever, Epic, whatever. And I've hit every one of these Epics that's ever come out. And I have to say I really like this one. All right. So what's the difference? Well, they're using the speed frame. And the speed frame looks like... right? It looks like that. You got those guys holding up the little frame, and what that is a new AI design support structure that goes in the body of the club. It sits basically right in here in the big body of the club, and as you can tell, it's got a few more attachment points on the bottom and or the top. So what does that do, right? So we've always known jailbreak has always worked this way. It's always worked up and down on the face, and that was because it was holding here, and when you hit it, the energy took off onto the ball. Now with the new SS21 flash face, look at that, it even says it, flash face SS21, that with the design of that and the speed frame, that not only does it go up and down, but it goes side to side. It says more ball speed on the ends. Basically, your misses are better. All right, basically your misses are better. What does that mean? Well, I've always been saying since they came out with the new AI and the flash face that it was a bit of a fairway finder, but it really wasn't that cool to say that if you hit it on the toe, you're still in the middle of the fairway. You hit it in the heel, you're still in the middle of the fairway. Is it going to stop you from slicing, pulling, all that stuff? No, but it's going to keep you, you're not going to lose as much distance as if you hit it bad, right? And that's what that's for. Now, this model year is a little different in that, yeah, they've always had 3 different kinds of models. They've had their standard model, their draw bias model, and their player's model. They've always had that. But in a lot of cases, there really wasn't a lot of difference between the two until the Maverick showed up and they took different shapes. Well, they took this to a different level. So each one has its own little story. So if we start with the speed and we take a look at the speed, yes, it has the flash face on it. Yes, it has the speed frame on it. But the differences start there. What this has is the triaxial crown. They all have the triaxial crown. And the new triaxial crown, based on its shape, saves anywhere from around 13 to 19 grams. Now that's a pretty heavy swing, but there are a lot different shapes of clubs. And the reason why they were able to save it is because that's where the crown starts now. okay? Not up in here where it sits on top. It sets down around here. So it's kind of, when we talked about their cup face technology, it's almost like cup crown technology now. And so it starts around here, and it stays on the top. And so that allows for removal of weight because it's triaxial compound versus titanium. Now now whenever you save weight, what's the next statement? It's allowed the engineers to move it in a more favorable condition. And they're right, okay? So what's happening here is they're going to move it to the sole. Why do they move it to the sole? So you get better launch conditions. And if you can place it towards the front for a little bit of reduction in spin, say for the LS model, or you put it in a draw bias part for the Max, or you just put it right down the center for the Speed model, then it's helping in every one. And there you go. That's what it's helping. In this, you'll notice also the Speed model does not have a slider. Most of the Epic models have always had a slider. This one does not. However, it is massively aerodynamic, all right? Massive aerodynamic. So they say they make the crown just maybe a little bit taller, but it's also flatter, all right? And now I will say in the fittings that I've done, Callaway product always ends up running faster than the rest. Unfortunately, the smash factors or the quality of hits don't go up with it. If it did, this thing would be out of sight. I've already done 2 fittings with these guys, and in both cases, the smash factor did go up. So now you're going to see the increase in speed and the increase in smash factor. That is saying something. There's going to be there's not going to be a whole lot of competition out there if the rest of these guys don't catch up. This is going to be a monster, right? On the Max, that's a different story. The Max moved around more. It took more weight on the crown, so it put more weight on the bottom. And this one has a slider, a 17-gram slider. Yes, I said 17 grams. And we know that it only takes 10 to really impact change. This is going to really impact change. In fact, they say it's a 20-yard side-to-side give. Now, is that for everybody? Again, no, but on the average, right? And you can tell I already helped somebody out with this one. And it works, right? It straightens them out. It makes them draw the ball. It may do all these different things. So, yeah, it does do that. And yes, it has the cap that's going on there. If you look at the bottom, it has the green graphics that Epic has been known for. You can see all the other things, but what I can tell you is that when you hold this one in relationship to the Speed, you can feel the weight difference. Now, we'll put it that way. I can feel the weight difference. And today's fitting that I just did, another gentleman, he noticed it. He noticed that it felt a little different, and that's good. So it's showing the weight is in the place where you want it to go. I can feel it right here where my thumb is at. And when you want to make the club do that, this is what you want. And last but certainly not least, the LS. The LS is going to be the Max low spin. That seems to be the new thing. And with the slider. All right, again, it sports the SS21 face. And again, it has all the same type of graphics on the bottom. However, in this particular one, when you hold on to it, you can feel that there's more weight going forward towards the face instead of just the heel. Callaway says this is the most draw bias, or the most fade bias they've got. And you're going to see that here in just a second. Again, with the slider. Now, in this one, they didn't see the huge number of grams. They lost 13 in the crown. But it's still a favorable move, right? If you can make all this go towards the front, it's going to be a spin killer, right? And it does set square at address, and it does look pretty decent. I think it's got a little bit more of an eggy shape, but this one's not so bad. It doesn't look too bad at address. All right, so you've got everything going for it. It's got some reflective stuff on the bottom. Some people will say it might be a little too busy. I like it, all right? I'm black and green all day, right? I can deal with this, and I think it's phenomenal. So now we have to look at what's going to be coming in the driver. The driver heads really need to talk about, but if you don't marry up the transmission, you're never ever going to get it going. So the three big additions this year. Number one is the Cypher. The Cypher is going to be that very friendly, very flexible shaft, very lightweight. in that 45 gram range, right? The 45 gram range. Now that's going to be the one you're going to see in probably in R's and A's in order for that person that needs a little bit more snap, that's a little bit smoother, that kind of stuff. Then you're going to see they brought in the Mitsubishi MMT. I believe it's meshed metal titanium or something along that line. Anyway, MMT, multi-material titanium, MMT. And it's a very nice shaft to be sure too. And you're going to see that in the X, S, and R ranges. At least I'm pretty sure. And that'll be your 60 gram. That's going to be the one you're probably going to find fits a lot of the folks. At least that's what Callaway wants. The next one is the Project X Smoke Green. In my favorite movie, The Rock, at the very end, you guys got to know that. Pop green smoke, right? I've seen green smoke. So there you go. All right, so there you go. It's the smoke green. So anything in the smoke line has always been for the guy that's been a tad stronger, we'll just say, maybe a little bit aggressive, and it will come in a 70 gram option at the top end. So not too bad. Let's make an assumption that they are the real ones, because I haven't figured out if they're not, but they seem to have all the markings. So let's go with that. So now that we've talked about it all, and it sports the Golf Pride Tour Velvet Align grip, okay? And the line this time is not standing out with a different color. It's black. So unless you really realize it, you probably, and a lot of people won't, but it puts that little reminder right there underneath your finger, so it's pretty cool. So what are we going to do with the measuring, right? I don't have the spec on it just as of yet, but I did go and measure. And based on previous models, right, 45 and a half, I got a 10.5 club, I used the smoke as the shaft, and so it was the S Flex. I totally expect that this is going to be stiffer than advertised because it's a stiff shaft, or it's a butt stiff shaft, and it's going to come out heavier. And so we got 10.5, this is what it should be, 45 is what it should be. It should be right around D3-ish, 3-ish, 3, 4-ish, and we should see somewhere around, I'm going to say 59 and a half to 60. So let me go measure. I'll be right back. All right, so I measured. So what did I find? Well, we wanted 45 and a half, and we found that. We wanted 10.5, and we found that. We wanted 59 and a half to 60, found that. All right, I got 59 and a half. That was pretty doggone good. I wanted D3, D4 is typically where they end up maybe. I found D5. So, and this was with the smoke shaft, so guys, don't get too excited. With the MMT and the other one, it'll certainly be less. So it's a little heavy. Again, not unexpected based on the shaft that I was doing. And the flex, when we asked for a stiff, I was just cresting into the next range in the X Flex range, which again, not unexpected. So how did it turn out? It turned out as expected. This has got to be the first time in all of the Callaway drivers that I have measured that all the specs in, lofts, lies, lengths, that kind of stuff, all came out the way I expected it. There's always been one that's been off. This is the first time that it's been like that. So, hey, well done for Q&A, right? They've done that. So now, the last thing is we got to do, last two things, is we got to hit them and got to recommend them. So let's go do some of that. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to hit the max speed, okay? The max speed is going to be their standard model. We're going to put the hazardous smoke in it, and I'm taking, of course I've already warmed up, and I'm going to take about 8-10 swings a piece, and we're going to see as I'm talking how I'm hitting and how they're landing, and we're going to go from there. Now I thought maybe I overranged myself when I put the smoke in, but as it turned out, maybe not. And so what did we see when I see it at address? I'm used to a Callaway product, so what I see is the leading face always has the dark black, and then it fades into a clear coat where you can see the triaxial compound. This is no different. However, the shape is a little bit different at address. I would say a little more traditional than in the past, right? A little more traditional. And what I will say, and when you're hitting this thing, the sound of this guy is just so much better. I thought the Maverick couldn't probably be much better in sound. This one transmits a sound that I think is quite acceptable, right? Quite acceptable in the way it hits. Now, of course, I'm not your PGA level guy, as you can see me doing throughout there. However, I'm starting to get it out there a little bit. Now, I did a comparison earlier on. I hit my Maverick yesterday, and I am working through a swing change. How about that? Swing change for a club guy. And as it turns out, I'm a bit better with the Epic. Not necessarily the speed, but we're going to see here in a little bit. And what I did find with the speed is that for me, a little bit of draw bias. The club maybe sets a degree shut, and so you see me either not big fade types, but you see middle or more draws, right? Keep in mind that's a left-handed shot pattern. But I do like the way it sets, and it does give you some feedback. I know for a fact I missed out on the toe on one or two, and I know for a fact I got to the inside, and it did tell me. It did tell me. Now, was it as penal as I've seen in the past? And the answer is no. No, it is not. And that's where we're talking, right? That we're talking about the fact, is it going to give me that forgiveness that I want? And the answer to this is yeah, it's doing that. What we're moving into next is the max, regular max, the regular max. And so what do we do with that one? I left the slider in the neutral position, and I started swinging with that one using the same shaft. So we're just really comparing head technology at this point, because guys, I was really tempted to go with the MMT in order to make this go. However, I didn't. And at address, the max has a little bit bigger look at address, i.e. with the max. It looks as if where the speed was more traditional in shape, the max has a bigger footprint, which means that the face probably isn't as tall, because you got to, whatever you take one, you got to give the other. But it's not a gross, it's not like an egg shape, one of those things that almost gets triangular. I don't like that. This one is just a little bit bigger, a little bit more drawn out, in order to be able to pull that CG back a little bit. And when you do that, you get better launch conditions in a lot of cases. Now, again, remember I told you could feel the weight in there, and it was working very well. I could feel it getting up and out. And as you can see, when I was hitting a few, and I left them in there, I totally tugged on a few. But this is a draw bias club, so if I'm naturally hitting to the inside, I should be naturally hitting more to the inside. And I did, right? So what does that say to you? Well, it says it is draw bias. So if you're playing a fade and you really want to go with straighten it out, maybe go the other way, because these are all tweaks. These aren't fixes. It's never been that way. They're tweaks. And you could get in there, and this could be your help to get you getting the club shut when you need it to go that direction. The slider in the back is certainly going to be helpful. I would say in this one, the max felt better. All right, the max felt better in a way of being softer. Now, I don't necessarily mean, I didn't get it in the center all the time. That was obvious, but it did get through the ball, and it just felt it didn't transmit every ounce of feel that the other one did. So if you're looking for a tremendous amount of feedback, the speed would have been better than the max. But I just thought the max felt more, comfortable, right? More comfortable. And I think that's really where you need to look at that one. So it did its job. Now finally, and least but not last, again, as I've said many times, is the LS model. Now, I've been playing the Sub-Zero model for 4 or 5 years, whatever they release it. The reason being is I am a spinner of the golf ball because I've always had this negative angle of attack. So I've always tried to get the lowest spinning thing I could get, hence was the LS, the CZ, whatever you want to call it. However, I'm also a fader of the ball, and that's not very, those two normally don't marry up. Well, last year I was able to straighten it up a little bit, and with my new swing change that I'm still incorporating, as you guys can see, that this one felt the best to me. It really did. When I just hit it, I could just feel me getting into the middle of the face. It just felt professional. I guess that's the best way to put it. It just felt like I was just melting the middle of this club face, and I know I missed a couple of times, as you can see left and right. But it just, even when I got in the inside, yes, I knew what I did, And I was like, oh crap, that's going to be bad. Turn around to look, only to find out that it was still going straight. Not nearly as far, but it wasn't nearly as bad either. Now, I did get a couple out there, but they were low spinners, and I just hope that that's what's going to show up. Now, again, the slider on this guy is going to be a huge bonus for tweaking. If I find myself with a predominance of misses to the inside, I'll just move it to the fade, which I have never done in my entire career. And this thing could be a real winner. Again, in comparison to we'll just keep everything in comparison to the speed. I would say this has a very similar shape to the speed, maybe just a little bit. I don't know, maybe just a little bit bigger, but not a bunch. It comes out, it's not nearly as round. It has a more traditional shape, I would say, that pear that everybody likes looking at. It sets open. Right, it does set open, and as you can see where I'm hitting, the preponderance of the shots are now landing towards the middle of the thing. Was I able to pull them? Yes, but preponderance was going straight, and as a whole, they were spinning less, and by a significant amount. Hence the reason why they went further. So when you go and look at that kind of stuff, the epic speed, it was about we'll just say 249, 268, so 250 to 270. That's pretty good. The epic max was 247 to 266, and just a little short, but you'll find that I hit it as good. And a real high quality of smash factor. This is the part we need to talk about. I've got in the 140s with this. This is something that I've never ever seen with Callaway product in the past. In order to get, I was normally 141, 142, so to see this kind of jump is pretty amazing. Now on the average with the max, I was to the right, which is the draw bias on the average. With the regular speed, I was to the left, just ever so slightly. And then with the Epic Max LS, we see a whopping 252, 276. So I'm bigger by 5 yards than the max, then 3 yards with the speed, total carry, which I like to see. And I did pop a few further out there, and I am at least, 8 yards and 10 yards further in comparison, with a smash factor that was just slightly higher, but the ball speed was somewhere around 500 RPM with a straight designator. How about that? And my angle of attack is actually slightly positive now. So we found out that Jim likes the LS model. Another thing you need to know about this is that the Epic line stops at the fairway wood. There will be no hybrids as of yet, because that's going to be covered in the Maverick line. The Maverick line is still going to be available from the hybrids through the irons. You're not going to see a change in that. They are staying with that with the 2-year evolution in the iron. That's a good thing. So now you could have Epic in the bag, have Maverick in the bag, have all kinds of stuff in the bag. And they're only going to have the Max and the Standard. I didn't see anything about an LS model. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that last year the Max model was very popular, not only out and about, but also on the tour, because nobody likes seeing a fade with a fairway wood. So there you go. That's what we're seeing. Well, we find out there's a lot. You need to go get fit. These things are going to be in above $500, and you need to be fit. Make your money count, and why not? And the options that are going to be available to you with the Cypher, the MMT, and with the green smoke, that you're going to have options, right? You're going to have weight options, flex options, loft options, because they're going to go across the board as well, plus they're adjustable, +2, -1. And you have the other ones with the cogs will do that. So there's this whole spectrum that if you just walk in neutral, standard, blam, and it doesn't work, well, you have the ability to have it fixed. If you went and got fit, you would just get it fixed right off the beginning of the bat, and that would be awesome. All right, so who is all this for? Well, they're for everybody. There's 3 different models. All right? So if you're looking to something to help you with the fade, the Max is the way to go. It is a draw bias model for certain. Put the MMT or even the Cypher in, depending on your swing speed or your taste of the way that it feels, and away you go. Now, if you're one of those guys that's just a heavy hitter and you just want to swing out of your boots and you still need it, then look at the smoke. You could do it, right? There it is. They're both 60 grams. Average golfer, the most that a lot of people will probably see, if you just, need just a little bit of help, not a massive amount of help, the speed would be the way to go. It has the aerodynamics. You're going to pick up maybe a mile or 2 hour of club head speed, which translates into about, 2.5 to 5 yards, depending on 1 to 2, right? And you're going to translate in that. That will be the standard. Pick out the right length, pick out the right loft, pick out the right flex, pick out the right weight. Bam, you have a weapon in the bag. And it's going to look cool, because I just like the way they look on the bottom. And finally, the LS. Again, final but not least, the Players Club. For those of you guys that are players, it is a fade bias driver, right? It's going to set open. It's going to look good at address. You're not going to have to flare it open when you go to do that. And you're going to have stronger clubs. I have at least 2 X flexors in mine. One's a 70, one's a 60. One is MMT, one is a green. And then you can get into the stiffs as well. Now, if you're in between, I would recommend the smoke, right? You saw I got up to 104 this time around, and that's not too bad. I'll take that all day. And now I just got to work, right? And then get your grip fixed to where you like your grip size and the grip texture that you like, and you should be good to go. And you shouldn't have a problem finding anything you want. Okay, so right length, right loft, right weight, right flex, right grip size, and you're going to enjoy golf for quite a bit, right? So you're going to start seeing you're going to see the subscription stuff in the next block of stuff that YouTube's going to do it. If you like more about golf stuff, check it out, right? That's what we want you to do. And as always, let's see your scores go low.